Thanks for joining. Today we're going to be talking to in our series Women in Industry. So please stay tuned as she comes on. Hi Nontabeka. Hi Nontando.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Good.
It's very cold here, though, in Cape Town. So
Is
I'm
it?
quite cold. Yeah.
I
Cool.
believe it's very windy there as well.
Yes, and raining. It's not a good day for washing.
Well, I hope you'll get some sunshine soon.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I
Yeah.
see people are joining.
Yeah. A few people.
Awesome.
So let's give them a few more minutes for a few more people to join.
Okay.
Yes.
No worries. You can do that.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
no, go ahead. It's fine.
How have you been? Have you been working from home? Have you been going into the office?
Yeah. No. So we've been quite lucky that we are able to work remotely. So that's been quite great. And it hasn't actually been very disruptive either. We've been working from literally the week before the president announced full lockdown. So since like mid-March already.
Okay.
So it feels like normal now to actually be working at home.
So
Yeah.
it's been like what? A
What
few.
is it like March, April, May, June, July, August? It's 5 months now. It's quite crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I won't lie though, I enjoy working from home quite a lot. I don't like sitting in traffic and I don't like I think what's nice is that there's still peace and there's not a lot of noise and stuff, so it's easier to sort of focus. You're not in the craziness of office. So I think that's been quite um welcoming.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
How do you balance your work life and your personal life then, in terms of, the one setting that you have for personal and work?
And it's an interesting question you're asking because, in fact, that's the one thing that I'm struggling with at the moment. The being able to switch off because, when you are at the office, like the process of closing your laptop and packing up and then driving home. Really, that's like you're training your brain to think, okay, I've sort of switched off now. I'm going home and now and I don't know if you can see the background, so the kitchen is like sort of next to, I actually work in this space and the kitchen is actually just next to the lounge area, so which is great when I'm hungry because I can quickly just grab something, but it is a bit difficult to sort of switch off because it's also the same area that I use to relax. And
Mm.
so what I've been trying to do now is to find a different spot to relax. And the other thing I think that helps is actually dressing up for work. So previously I wouldn't, but actually now, that process of dressing up for work, and then once I switch off the laptop, actually close the laptop and then, have a change of clothes or, jump in the shower or something. And I'm trying to sort of train my brain now to learn to switch off in that way. But I won't lie, it is very challenging, and I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues and friends as well that are also working from home, and they say that what we've been finding, which is quite interesting, is that we're working longer hours.
Yes.
So you don't really realize that, hey, you know what, it's time to log off, or you think that, okay, I'm busy with this project, let me just do a little more, so you actually find that we do struggle to switch off in that sense. So I think it's about being disciplined. And I think one more thing, if anyone that's listening is actually working, the other thing that I've also um, realized that actually helps to schedule something immediately after your work day. So say, for example, you finish at 5, schedule like your a gym workout or a call with your friend or something like that. So it sort of forces you to switch off.
I like that.
Yeah.
So you kind of
Yeah.
like switch off and get into different space.
Yes. Yes. It actually forces you to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Shall we get started? I see we have a few students online, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Welcome, Lubna. Lubna is an HR specialist, and she is our guest for our series Women in Industry. I'm not going to say too much more. I'm going to let you just introduce yourself to our followers, our listeners.
Awesome. Cool. So yes, so thank you for having me. Firstly, I really enjoy interacting with students as well. So my name is Lubna. Um, I've already mentioned I'm from Cape Town, so I studied at UCT. I'm an HR professional. I'm actually an HR business partner at an international company. I've been working for about 5 years now. I also have that, but that's my day job. I also have a side passion or business that I run on the side where I sort of help people market themselves well through interview coaching as well as CV assistance as well. And I also write articles about the workplace as well. And on the side, I have a travel blog that I started recently, which is definitely not the best time to start. But yeah, that's something that's just running in the background at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So you mentioned you studied at UCT. What did you study, and can you take us through your career journey?
Yeah, so that's actually also an interesting question because I started studying one thing and I graduated with something else. So I started, I just feel like when you're in matric, and to be honest, I was one of those people that actually did not know what I wanted to study in matric. And then I just thought, let's go for the safest option. Let's go for the default option and let's study something in commerce. And so I studied business science. That's very similar to a BCom degree, except you have an extra year of study and you graduate with honors. I was majoring in finance and accounts. And very soon, like after a year, I very soon realized that I definitely do not want to go into finance or accounts. And then I felt like it was too much number crunching. And very interestingly, I then went to the career center at UCT. So similar to the same thing that you have at UJ. So I went to the UCT version of it, and they then introduced me to industrial psychology as well. And what was nice about that is that I didn't have to change my degree because they still offered industrial psychology within the commerce space. So all the subjects that I'd done was still relevant, and it was just a change of major. And then I graduated with honors in industrial psychology, and then I started working.
Okay, nice. Quite an interesting journey.
Very, very confusing. But it's a good journey. At least I walked that path, and I knew that I had to give it a go as well. And so like 5 years later, when I think about it, then I think that if so I actually kept all my friends. Most of my friends are actually CAs or in finance now. I kept my first year friends, and I listen to what they do as well, and I know that I make the right decision to change majors. Because it's not something I would have wanted to have done. So, but I'm glad that I walked that path to know that.
Yeah. And in terms of the career counseling at CC, did you have a career assessment done or career counseling? And can you tell us about your experience?
Okay, so basically what they had done is I went in there. I think I needed to give him a CV. I needed to give them a background. They asked, I filled out a questionnaire as well. And then I think I spoke to a counselor, and I did have, and they actually sort of suggested this, because I think what I realized is that I didn't enjoy the number crunching part of finance and accounts. And I said I wanted to do something which is more people related, and what better degree than but I also told them that I also I like being in commerce. I'm happy, working in that space, but it's just, I don't see myself being a CA. And that, and so sort of the questions that they asked me led to, this degree, because they looked at, what the university offers, what is my current degree, and what would be a good fit for my personality as well.
Really? Yeah, I had a similar experience. I didn't know what I was going to do. And the first 2 weeks of university, I went to the career counseling center for that university. And they also helped me a lot, just in terms of guiding me, for someone who was a first generation student as well, and no one to really talk different courses and different options. So yeah, career centers, if you are struggling in terms of careers or study paths, a good way to go.
And I mean, I'm also first generation, so my parents didn't have the opportunities to go to university as well. And so you're right, there were friends and stuff, but I didn't, everything was new for my parents as well. I didn't even know that the career center existed up until, I think, the second semester, so, and that's why I feel like platforms like these are actually very useful, because I feel like if I had spoken to somebody beforehand that had walked the walk, that had gone through, that is working even, I would have had a better understanding of what the day-to-day looks like. And then, it would have maybe helped me make a better decision. But even having said that, I just think that, when at the age of 18, it's too much pressure to even know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And you know what, that's okay. And it's great if you have people that actually know what they want to do and they do it, that's great, but for those that actually don't and that are uncertain, it's also okay. It's not you're not making a mistake, you're just making a different decision. You're trying something out, and if it doesn't work, then you try something else out.
And sometimes that's you'll really know, try it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Would you be able to take us through what you do on a daily basis as an HR professional?
Okay, so if I think about that, I think in order to really be able to explain to you what I do on a day-to-day basis, I need to first make sure that, that you have a good, or the students have a good understanding of what HR is really about, or what human resources is really about, right? Yeah. And if I think about it, basically, human resources is all about human interactions in the workplace. So it's managing people, it's all things people related, and managing people within the workplace, right? And it starts from the employee journey. So it starts from even before the time the employee gets hired, till even after the time that employee leaves the organization. HR is involved in every single process within that journey, right? So if you don't mind, I think it might be better if I actually explain what those different buckets, because HR is very huge, and there's so many spheres within HR. And because I'm actually in a generalist kind of space, I actually touch on almost all of them. So I think the best way to describe it is if I actually explain the employee journey within a workplace. In HR, we call that the employee life cycle. So if you're studying HR and you're listening, you'll probably know what that is. And so the employee life cycle, I think, if you see an advertisement at a company and you apply for a job, HR is actually involved in that, but HR is involved even before that, where we determine whether there's a job that's needed or not. So you're solving a problem in a business, and then say for example somebody leaves the organization and you need to replace them, or you change the company structure is changing or something, and so you have new positions available. So that's when we determine that, okay, you need, there's a job that's available, and then you'll maybe determine like sort of, okay, so now we know that we need to hire a person, but what are their duties? What sort of skill level are we looking at? What are the qualifications? What sort of pay are we going to attach to that? And that part is also called sort of talent. So talent attraction. So that's the first part of HR. Well, one part of HR, right? So if we look at your employee that's applied for the job, and great, you've been called in for an interview. That part is called recruitment, and that's a different function within HR. And you also get recruiters as well that could sort of fall into that bucket, right? So, and then, okay, cool. So now I see lots of hearts there. That's great. Yeah. So now, okay, great. So well done. You've got your interview. You did really well, and the company offers you a job, and sort of you signed your offer letter and you start the company. So, even though you qualified, even though you have all your qualifications, you still don't know what the company is about, And so as HR, it's our job to make sure that you sort of acclimate to the company and that you understand what the company is about and what the values are and where things are. And so that process is called onboarding. So HR is also involved with onboarding. So it's inducting employees, sort of getting them used to the company as well. And then, so that's like another part of HR. Then you move on, and you've worked for a month now, and you get your first paycheck. So that's also another part where HR is actually involved in, and that's payroll. And that's also something that I'm actually currently involved in as well. I used to be involved in the day-to-day of payroll, making sure employees are paid. Now I sort of manage it on a global level as well. So sort of only higher orders, the stuff that gets escalated or something, that would come to me. So just to sort of explain to you where I fit in over there. I've also done some recruitment as well, hiring people in. So I've done a bit of that as well. But yeah, so you get your first paycheck, and also, sometimes the company offers benefits. So benefits would be like maybe a pension fund or a medical aid, and sometimes the company contributes a bit of that, and sometimes the employee does. But the reason why we administer it through the company is because the company generally gets better rates if we put our entire employee group on there. So those are some of the things that HR will interact with you and ask you about, like what sort of medical aid plan do you want to go on, how much are you willing to contribute, stuff like that, and that you'll see on your pay slip as well. So that part of HR is called remuneration and benefits, or compensation and benefits as well. And so I'm also a little bit involved in that as well. So if we look at the employee life cycle, that's just the beginning. Then you and feel free to interject if you have any questions. I'm sort of trying to paint a picture of what HR is about, and then sort of show you slowly like at which parts I play a role in. And what is actually out there for students if they want to, if they see themselves, wanting a career in human resources. So now, you've been paid for a month, so you've been exposed to payroll, and now, you've been working so hard, and now you get flu-like symptoms. And so, yeah, but that you'd rather take off, you'd rather take some sick leave so that you can get better, because you're in a pandemic now, so you want to look after yourself and make sure that you're fine. And so in that case, you'll want to take sick leave. But now at university, if you want to be sick, then, you just don't attend your lectures. But in the working world, unfortunately, you can't do that. You'll get a discipline. You'll get a warning for that, right? If you just don't pitch up for work and don't say anything. So there's a whole process, even in terms of taking leave, whether it's like annual leave, whether it's like sick leave. There's different types of leave, and so for that, so leave management is also something that HR sort of deals with, and HR manages, and leave also falls within a bigger bucket, which is called HR policies and procedures. So the company policies and procedures, that's also something that HR tends to be involved in as well. And basically, for the students, if you don't understand what policies are and why we need policies, so basically policies is the rules and regulations of how you need to conduct yourself within the company, right? So for example, that would also include, so I said like leave. It can be stuff like health and safety. Now we have like a COVID policy as well at the company. It would also include maybe dress code. So like just basically just making sure that people are, behaving in a way that's, that's according to the company's values, and that's not infringing on anyone else's right either. So so that would be policy. So I also deal with policies. I sort of manage. I'm involved with sort of making sure that policies are updated, and if policies need to be refreshed and enhanced. For example, now we had a legislation come through where with parental leave now, so you get fathers. But so now fathers also get 10 days parental leave. So like just making sure that that's incorporated into the company policy as well. So that's what I'm involved with. But coming back to the employee life cycle, right? So now you've met with HR in all these different spheres. So as you can see, like it's just making sure that you have a smooth journey as you work your way in the company. So now we come through to like, the mid-year, and just like in at university, you have your mid-year reviews or your mid-year exams. In companies, we also have something called your mid-year reviews, and that's sort of a checking to make sure or to see how you are sort of coping and how you are performing in your job. And very often your bonuses would get linked. The bonus that you get paid is determined by how well you're performing as well. And so that part of HR is called performance management. And HR is also like sort of spearheads that, and we manage that and ensure that the company is following that, because obviously then it feeds back into remuneration and benefits, because it's going to determine your bonus and your increase, so stuff like that. And so obviously if you're doing really well, then that's great. Then we can talk about another sphere of HR, which is training and development. And say, for example, you're interested in getting promotion and you want to know what are the steps to get there. So that's like career pathing. And then, which is also something similar to what you guys are doing at the Career Center. And so there's training and development, and that would also be like, what sort of courses should we put you in? So say, for example, you want to become a manager now and you need some leadership skills. So, we assist you in saying, okay, what are the next steps for you in order to get you to where you want to be? And so that's training and development. But if you were a bad employee, so say, for example, you took you just were absent, you didn't tell the manager, and you're not performing well, you're not actually delivering what you need to deliver, then that's another part of HR. So you might get a warning or something, or you might be called in for poor performance. And that part of HR is called employee relations or industrial relations. That's the not so sexy part of HR. I am a little bit involved in that as well. But so that's sort of discipline, and that's, even the other things that also would fall under that. I'm sure you've heard that many companies are retrenching at the moment because of, the pandemic and the way it's impacted the economy. So, our labor laws are very strict about how we treat employees, and we need to always make sure that we're treating our employees fairly in every single way. And that's where that would fall under employee relations. So that's that. But anyways, so that's another bucket of HR. But going back to the employee life cycle, you can think about, let's forget about that. And you were a stellar employee, you did really well. So, there was training and development, but there's also something called recognition. So you might, your manager might actually put your name forward because you've been doing so well, and there are company award ceremonies and stuff like that. And HR is also involved with those kinds of things, making sure that our employees feel valued and recognized. And so, so I told you about training and development, and now you must be wondering, okay, so how does HR actually manage all of that? Like, when you are 10 employees or 50 employees, it's easy to sort of keep track of what training people are doing, how well are they performing, what bonuses are we paying them. But if you have like a company where you have over 1,000 employees, which is in my case, and in some cases you actually have over 10,000 employees, then it becomes virtually impossible to manage all of that information on your own. And so then that's another part of HR that comes in, and how it's managed is through HR systems, so HR information systems, which is a relatively new thing. Not that new anymore, but it is sort of new, where you have like HR systems analysts as well that manage like, these HR systems online. And so that's where our leave is managed. That's where our performance is managed. That's where payroll is also managed on a system as well. Training and development also, because there's another part of HR which is called like statutory compliance, and that is where in South Africa, you have to report on your employment equity, and you have to report on your workplace skills plan. So basically what that means is we need to report to the government. We need to send a government report that mentions all the demographics of the people that are working for us. And also we'd say like, how many of those people, what is the skill level? How many of those are in leadership? How many of those are semi-skilled? What are the training and development courses that we have in place to make sure that our employees are actually trained? And so that part is like, of course, statutory compliance, so, and that's also managed in the system, because it's impossible to report on 10,000 employees, their name, their gender, their race, their skill level. Like, you cannot do that physically, like on your own. You need a system for that. And that's how it's housed within those HR systems. So we're sort of nearly done. So there's two more aspects of HR I want to actually just explain. And the one is also called employee engagement. That is how motivated employees are within the workplace. And the other one is also, so because we as HR, we manage people, right? So we recognize that employees are people, they're human beings, they have feelings, they go through things. So you have something called wellness or well-being. And so many companies, if they can afford to, they have this in place. It's called an employee wellness program as well, where it's either an external person, or some companies have internal psychologists and sort of people that speak to employees, and it has to do with making sure employees are healthy and that they are coping. So for example, if you get hit by a car, or in my case, I got mugged recently as well, and that was quite a traumatic experience for me. And so I was able to actually call and reach out to the wellness program, and it's completely confidential as well. So that's just sort of the benefits, because we recognize that yes, the mugging might not have happened at work. It happened in my personal space and in my personal capacity, but it obviously has an impact on how I perform at work. And so, there's this motivation to make sure that you're okay and that you are coping. And so that's wellness. And then the last part is basically, okay, so, it's called offboarding. So when you decide to leave the company for whatever reason, either you found another job or you're not working anymore. So managing that process, trying to terminate you from all of the employee benefits that's actually related to the company, making sure that there's plans in place. And then even once you leave the organization, we then go back to the beginning, where we say, okay, are we going to replace this job? Is it necessary? Why did the person leave? All of those kinds of things. So you can see that every step of the way throughout your journey in the organization, HR is involved. You will actually, be in touch with us in some way or another. I
Yes,
hope that explains it better, and sort of what I do.
it does, definitely. And it sounds like as an employee, you would want HR to be your best friend, you know, so
Did
that
yes, I would think so. I think I would, yeah, I would think so. I think it's, and I think one of the challenges that I find is for people. So in HR, everyone in HR knows what we do, right? But outside of HR, people don't know what we do. You know, and I've even heard a comment before. Oh, you know, what do you even do? Like you know, you just in some back corner, back office somewhere, we will hear about you when, sort of you want performance appraisals. And honestly, like I think we have some of the most hardworking people in our profession as well, because there's just so much to do, and because managing people is an art. There is no right way or wrong way of managing people. I obviously the process that I explained to you now, I simplified it very very much so, but it's not always clear and it's not always black and white,
mm,
but people keep you very busy.
I can imagine. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
was thinking in terms of, wow, this is a lot that HR is involved in. And I'm sure a lot of people, I could be wrong, might not know about the opportunities that HR can also assist you with in terms of promotions, in terms of
Yes.
professional development, which is awesome. But I was wondering
Yes.
as well, as a student, you would be exposed to all of the different buckets and knowledgeable about all of the different buckets. But when you go into the working world, do you choose, can you specialize in a certain bucket, or would you have to kind of do a little bit of everything?
And I think that's a good question. And to be honest, I did not know what HR was about. I didn't know that. I knew recruitment because that was, your first point of contact with HR is through recruitment. Um, but I think it actually varies from company to company. I think if you get into a graduate program, which is very difficult to get into because there are very few of them for HR professionals, then what they try and do is that they expose you to all the different parts of the business and also the different parts of HR. What also happens is it depends on the job that you are applying for, right? So what is nice, and this is what I sort of I was an intern first, and then I also became an HR administrator. And what's nice about an HR administrator is that you actually touch on every single one of those buckets in some way. Obviously, from an admin point of view, but it's the best place to learn would be in an HR admin role, especially if you're like me, where you didn't know where you want to end up or what your strengths are and what your preferences are as well. Because, with HR admin, I did a bit of payroll, did a bit of recruitment admin functions, performance management, all of those things. Like you do actually get to touch on a little bit of everything. And what that does is that actually it gives you a better understanding of what the different parts of HR is about. But then again, you also get for graduate positions, you also get like a recruitment administrator as a position that I know that those are sort of entry level jobs. Or you could actually find a company that specializes maybe in training and development. And so if you go there, you'd specialize in that. So it also depends on, what other types of jobs you're applying for. Like, for example, if you know for a fact that, you want to become an industrial relations or IR specialist, then you can sort of target those kinds of companies and get, sort of bypass the others. But that's also not, from my experience, it's not always up to you, like what's available out there. And for me, what is also more important is rather getting a little bit of experience and then sort of branching out, And there are ways of branching out, even if your company does not offer specific positions that you're looking for. But there's always, like, I always advise, like when I speak to a lot of, with my clients, actually, I speak to a lot of students. And what I advise them to do is to actually, if they are in a particular company, and they're interested in something else, then put up your hand and say, don't be afraid to get more involved, even if it's not within your space. And be willing to sort of roll up your sleeves and actually, you know, actually say, can I help with that? And I'll say, actually, I'll actually tell you what sort of, I'll actually give an example of that in my space, because I had a very sort of rocky start to my career as well, right? So when I actually started out, I was carrying coffee for my boss, buying coffee, getting coffee for her and stuff like that. Even when I was done with that internship, I still didn't really have like a lot of experience. And then I ended up actually in my current company. I actually started. Um, I took a job, and it was like a 3-month contract. And what I was going to do there was not actually, all the little spheres of HR that I told you about. My sole job there was to scan documents and to print documents and scan documents and create employee files. So it was still within HR, but it was none of those things. And I still said yes to that job, even though I had an honors, even though I had a whole year of experience before that. I still said yes. And the reason why, and I didn't see the job as beneath me. And the reason why was because I knew that even though I was filing and scanning contracts and creating employee files, I was still sitting in an HR office. And I was still sitting like amongst people who had all that knowledge. And, it was my opportunity to sort of ask them questions and to ask them, okay, so how does this work and how does that work? And then even like the documents, like even just filing the employee files, I was like, oh, so this is what the interview guide looks like from the inside. Oh, so this is like what the reference checks look like. And that's how I learned, and because I was so hungry to learn and because I was so eager to, to find out more, that 3-month contract turned into a permanent position. And that's where I became the HR administrator. Because I proved to them that I am actually interested and I am capable of doing it, and that I don't see the job as beneath me, even if I have my honors at UCT or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, and in fact, I was actually more qualified than some of the people I was working with. But at the end of the day, those people that I was more qualified than were teaching me how the ropes, how HR works and how the company works and stuff like that. And so it just didn't make sense for me to be sort of entitled and to feel like I am, you can't teach me anything because sort of I'm more qualified than you as well. And so like fast forward 4 years later, I've turned from a filing tip into an HR business partner. And what an HR business partner does, so I told you, like, I sit in the different various buckets within HR, and that's also the more generous kind of space. But I basically, to sum up what I do, I basically go into the business and I solve problems. I see like what are the issues that the businesses that the business is facing, and how can we improve our HR processes in order to make it easier for them. So whether it means an outdated policy, or whether it means, there's this new leave that came out, how are we going to sort of track that? Or we have so many people that are absent in the workforce now, and are they really absent, or are they just, taking advantage? So that is actually what an HR business partner does. They solve problems within the business and they improve processes.
So they're problem solvers.
Yeah,
I really like
in a nutshell.
I really said about being hungry to learn, and attitude that, okay, I've qualified and now there's nothing more that I can learn, because university can prepare you for the world of work to a certain extent, but there are going to be things you learn on the job, and asking questions, finding out from people senior to you is key if you want to grow in that profession.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, you spoke a lot about the different buckets of HR, and I was just thinking, the art of people management. Then I was thinking payroll. You have to be good with numbers. It seems like there's quite a unique skill set that an HR
Definitely,
have.
definitely.
Yeah. Could you talk us through like what characteristics you think a student would need to have in order to become an HR specialist?
Okay, so that's a good question to ask. And I think that, and you're right, actually, you're spot on when you say that, there's so many various buckets, and within the different buckets, there's sort of, there are some skills, there are like some skills that are, you know, over, that generally or overall you should, is good for you to have, but there are some specialized skills as well. So yes. So for example, with your to to take your example, which is in payroll. If you're in payroll, you need to be extremely pedantic, extremely detail orientated. If you're not, please don't. It becomes, it becomes very difficult for you to actually be in payroll because the risk is just so high. Just I promise you, you know, if I've had employees come to me, where they're earning like a very large salary, but they got paid 100 rand less, and they'll be like, okay, so why is there 100 rand less? And it could be something to do with the tax or the benefit that they've just added and stuff like that. But people become very emotional when it comes to the money, which is very understandable. So yeah, and that's also the one thing, and this is something that I'd also like to tell students as well. So I left finance and accounts thinking I don't want like this technical stuff. I want to deal with numbers all the time. But the irony was that when I was an HR administrator, and even now, I actually still deal a lot with numbers. And on Excel, like Excel's my friend. The like I might not do I used to hate Excel at university. I hated Excel. I refused to like sort of give it the attention it deserves. And then now, when I started like working in payroll as well, I actually learned to enjoy it. And I found that that when you want to learn something, you will learn it. When you need to learn something, you'll probably learn it, right? And I actually found that I was actually more technical than I gave myself credit for. So just to tell other people out there. So even if you do like doing like people sort of interactions more, that doesn't necessarily mean that that you can't be technical as well, or that you can't be good with numbers. Because I actually surprised myself, and that was a nice thing about being part of being an HR administrator, is that because you deal with a whole lot of things, you actually learn that, hey, I'm actually good at this. It's not that bad. So with HR systems and payroll, I think you need to be very detail orientated. I think you're less likely need to have like that people skills as well, but it's good to have them. When you're a recruiter, I think really good skills to have is just loving that people interaction. It's very exhausting. If you're an introvert, it is a little more difficult to be in the recruitment space because you're dealing with a whole lot of people. You're chatting to people the entire day, doing reference checks, doing interviews and stuff like that, actually also interacting with the hiring manager. So it can be very exhausting. So it helps if you have that. I think overall, just to have empathy as well for people and what they're going through, because in HR we are privy to a lot of confidential information, and we also are confided in a lot. So to sort of have that kind of empathy overall, I think yes, being an HR business partner is about problem solving, but I think that in any job, inside and outside of HR, if you are a problem solver and you're able to do that, I think you'll go very far in life. So that's a very good skill set to have, to not sort of wait for somebody else to say, okay, how do I solve it? But see, okay, what can I do to sort of make things better before you ask for help? I think if I think about other skills like, just general, definitely communication skills all the way through. Verbal and written communication, that's a very good skill. You definitely need to have it, like if you are in the recruitment space and in a lot of other spaces as well, but that helps you a lot, especially if you want to go up and you want to progress your career. That becomes like vital. just also a good organizational skills. So like you can see, like you do a lot, and especially if you have a more generalist kind of role and you're not specializing in one particular thing, it's very important that you have good organizational skills as well. Those are really good skills to have within human resources.
Nice. And what would you say you enjoy most about your career, your position?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. The sound.
Sorry, what do you enjoy most about being an HR business partner?
I think having all the confidential information. No, I'm just joking. Being privy to all the secrets. No, I think no, I won't lie. Like I take it for granted that we just tend to know a lot of things that other people wouldn't. But after a while, you get so used to it. Oh yes, I think a very good skill to have then as well would be the ability to maintain confidentiality. If you do not have that, then that you probably shouldn't be in HR. So that's something quite important. But coming back to your question, what I really enjoy the idea of being involved in employees' journey throughout their time at the company. I like the fact when I was busy with recruitment, for example, I loved that I was involved in being able to handpick top talent to come into our business. And also it would excite me to know that these people are going to fit in so well and that they really are going to sort of make an impact in the business as well. So, just being able to actually talk to those people and to interact with different people, bringing them in, and also just being there for the employees as well. That's been great. I think also what I enjoy about the business partnering aspect of it is really not just being stuck in HR and what HR does, but really trying to understand the business and what the business needs are and how we can actually take the skills that we have and try and improve whatever initiatives they have or whatever problems that they are having. Like that for me is like very fulfilling, actually seeing that, the work that you do can actually improve something or make something better. And I think that for me is probably the thing that I enjoy the most working where I am.
That's wonderful. It also sounds like, you're passionate about people and developing people to their fullest.
Yeah, that definitely like that is a very big thing for me, especially not only within my my job itself, but also with all the initiatives that I'm involved with after hours. Like I think that for me is one of the biggest things, like being able to like empower or uplift other people to do things that that they are capable of or that they didn't know they could do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm worried Instagram is gonna stop us, but shall we us and then we might have to start another live session.
Okay, cool.
But if you do have any questions, please start sending them through so that Lubna can answer them. I was going to talk also about, your passion for youth development. You said you work a lot with, and I know you do a book club.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I have a book club on the side as well. It's part of this orphanage that I'm involved with. And then the reason why I started doing that was because from a young, like I wanted kids to know the value of books and the value of education as well. And so like I thought the best place to start would be with kids, and an orphanage as well, where they might not have all of the facilities available to them. I thought that would be like the best place to start, and it really, the aim is really just to instill like a love of reading and to introduce them to new ideas and to also to teach them that, like there's a lot more that they are capable of, just to broaden their view of, what's out there in the world. So just because you're in an orphanage does not necessarily mean that, that's going to define you or your situation. I mean, I also came from a very poor background as well. I got through university with a with a bursary as well. So it's not like I had a very cushy life either. So, but that didn't define where I ended up. And so that's also like one of the messages that I try to instill in the kids that I'm interacting with.
That's wonderful. That's really, really cool. Shall we take this question before Instagram kicks? So it's about how long can breaking an old routine take, and how long can the hoped for routine take to sink in a room with kitchen unit and all else just 2 steps away? So I think what we were talking about in the beginning of the session.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. So I think it's also about blocking the noise, right? So what I also do is I use headphones as well. So sometimes you listen to music, you put your phone on silent so that you're not distracted, and so that helps you get into the zone. But it's about limiting the distractions around you and trying to focus, right? But I think also some people deal better with routine and other people deal better with chaos. I think I'm in between. So which helps. I can still function with like a lot of mess and like just look at focus on what I need to, but I also can get distracted. So it is a bit tough, but it's about trying to remove the distractions as far as possible, and then trying to focus. And like I said, I find that music kind of helps me focus at times as well, so it blocks out a lot of noise.
Nice. Yes. I also say in terms of, they say research shows that to form a habit takes about 28 days. So in terms of your routine, it will also need to be little things that you do that become habits.
Yeah.
That you can
Yes.
start doing. Yeah. The old
Yes. And that's why, and that's why I do this whole take off your work clothes, put on your PJs, leave the room. That's also trying to train my brain to like sort of, and that was also creating a new routine within like working at home. So that's, so, and it does sort of take, like you said, it does sort of take a while to do that, 15 to like 28 days, depending on how disciplined you are.
Yes, self-discipline is key in terms of working as well, I think.
Yeah.
So let's on, we recently celebrated Women's Day over the long weekend. Say to you. What would you say, have there been any challenges you faced as a female in this profession?
So I think within HR specifically, it's very female dominated, right? So I think as a woman specifically, we don't necessarily always deal with a lot of males within our own department, but I think, and for me specifically, I've always been I've always tried to like be very assertive. Well, not try, I think it is part of my personality. But I found that when you are assertive, like people, it doesn't matter whether you a man or a woman, people are going to take note and they are going to listen. That being said, though, I do find sometimes that people, sort of, it's almost like you need to justify your place at the table at times where, but I do find that we, not within HR, but, when you're dealing with other sort of departments or other external people as well, where there is like, sometimes that subconscious bias where, okay, how qualified is this person? But the minute you speak and the minute you actually, it's about sort of taking command and being confident in what you bring to the table. And people are less likely to sort of, look at you as, this woman, but rather look at what sort of value you have to bring to the table as well. I think, I think for me personally, like I have less sort of challenges being a woman in the working world, but I do see general challenges that women face. So I don't have any kids, so I haven't gone through this, but I do think that if I look at the maternity leave policies, for example, that we have in South Africa, I think that they are actually very, I think that they need to be changed, and they don't really allow women to actually enjoy that process of sort of, having a child, where I think there's a bigger burden on a woman to sort of, that the woman has to be if she does have a child, because it means that she's away from work for 4 months, and that doesn't necessarily to be paid leave as well. And I know that in other countries, they give women an entire year of maternity leave as well. So I feel like something like that is sort of like is a barrier. Like, the strict rules around maternity leave does not necessarily help women that are in the workplace. It is a challenge for them, and I think that it makes them think twice about having kids. And those that do have children, they still have, they're adjusting to the new way of doing things and new family and stuff, and then they're expected to be fine and back and performing at the same level after 4 months, which I think is quite tough. And I feel like that's something. I feel like, generally we need to have more sympathy towards people or women that have gone through that as well, and to make the work environment more accommodating for them as well.
Definitely.
So I do see that as a big challenge, but a wider challenge,
A year maternity leave sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if they can do it in other countries,
Exactly. Exactly. Why not here?
Yeah.
Would you have any advice for young female students who might be going into the world of work? Any advice?
Definitely. Definitely. I think what I find, also interviewing and stuff like that, what I find is that, and even with, so like I told you, I do this, I have a side business where I assist people with their CVs, and I provide interview coaching and those kinds of things. And what I have noticed is that females tend to undersell themselves a lot, and that they lack the confidence, that they are very smart people, that they're very capable, that but they lack the confidence. And the thing, and my message would be for young women to actually know your worth, and to actually be confident in what you bring to the table, and don't feel like you need to ask permission. Like, go out there. It's okay. Like I said, I'm a very assertive person. That's fine. Be yourself, and have the confidence in what you're doing and what you bring to the table. And I think that it would actually help you a lot in the working world, in the environment, because if you are going to come with that sort of lack of confidence, other people are going to feed into that, and then also wonder, okay, is this person capable of the job or not? And what I'm saying is that I find that there are a lot of talented people out there that are actually that have so much to give, and that have like valuable skills, but they just undersell themselves so much. And so my advice would be just to not undersell yourself, and to have confidence in what you have to offer.
I love that. Know your worth, what you bring to the table.
Yes.
Own your seat at the table.
And also, with knowing your worth is also, do not let anyone in the working world bully you into doing something that you don't want to do, or that you feel like is not right to do, whether it's a male or female. So, and I think that's the other thing the other challenge that I sometimes find, that it's actually the females that are bringing each other down, seeing each other as competition. So don't be one of those people, sort of be, just know your worth as well. But also it really is about also stand up for what you believe in as well, and don't allow the yourself to get bullied into something that you actually don't feel is right for you.
That makes me think. So, I'm thinking about an employee. We have 14 seconds remaining. Let me end.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'll see you now.
Awesome. Thanks.